This week, Willy Gnonto refused to play for Leeds.
Wanker.
In 2 games, actually. So I went to a cup game midweek and he wasn't on the lineup at all. And I was a little bit confused as to why. Yeah. And then at the end of the week, obviously, he's refused to play in the league game as well. Apparently, maybe Luis Sinistera did the same. So I wanted to chat about, like, not particularly Gnonto, although we'll touch on that. I wanted to talk about how much power players have now, and do you think that that's a positive or a negative?
It's a big negative, but they've got a contract for a reason, you know what I mean?
I think the agents are parasites, to be completely honest.
If I was Leeds, I'd let him rot in thingy.
In under 23s, let him rot.
I wouldn't sell him.
But you're going to have to pay him. This is what I'm saying. From Leeds' point of view now,
He's
it's an L either way.
He's not on a huge wage, though.
No, he won't be, to be fair, because he's young. But I'm in general, though, like, let's say when you've got someone like Mbappe doing that at PSG or something along them lines.
I think the Mbappe one's it's a different one because PSG put themselves in that situation. Like when they gave him that contract a few years ago and they gave him power in the club.
Yeah,
it was only ever going to end one way with eventually Mbappe pulling this sort of shit that he is pulling. So I think that 100% they put themselves in that position. But the players doing what they do, I don't know. I mean, at the same time, you can't really blame him if he thinks he's better than the Championship. Then why not?
You're on a contract for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, with Gnonto particularly as well, Leeds picked him up from the Swiss League.
Exactly.
Like was it January we got him? Or
no, it was
summer?
at the start of the season.
Was it the summer? But even still, he had a good first half of the season last year, and then he didn't even really play much for the second half of the season.
He wasn't brought in to get integrated into the first team.
Nah.
When Allardyce came in, he didn't play him.
He didn't play him for more than 10 minutes.
I don't think he's that good, but I wasn't saying it like, I think he's that good.
He's got potential.
If he thinks he's that good, then push a move, I suppose. I don't know.
I agree with pushing a move, but I don't agree with just not playing.
It's the first time he's played in front of a group of people that have got fully behind him, like we're chanting his name week in, week out. Yeah, I just think you've got to have a little bit of fucking respect for the team that's kind of essentially made you what you are at this moment in time. Just there's zero respect, there's zero loyalty. I understand that he wants to move on and he wants to keep bursting through ceilings. That's fine. He's a young player. He's got bags of potential, but just do it in the right way. Tyler Adams is probably always USA captain. He's not going to play in the Championship. But do you know what he's done? He's been there with the team. He was there at the end of the Cardiff game when we drew 2-2. He was on the pitch. He was speaking to the young players. And he was just honouring his contracts. And I just don't think that's that much to ask for.
Yeah, that's
I understand
true.
if they want to move on, that's fine. But you just got to go about it in the right way.
You still pay. It's like you doing your 9 to 5 and just not turning up just because you want a different job. You're still getting paid by the club. You know what I mean? You should still.
You need to show up in it. You need to honour your contracts. So
I mean, the only other thing in the way that you kind of have to look at it from the player's perspective is if he wants to push a move and then he plays and somebody flies in and breaks his leg, he can't get that move. So if you look at it that way, you kind of go, well, I agree it's not right and it is unprofessional to do, but in that aspect you kind of got to think them as themselves as a person is their asset. Their physical being is an asset, and if they get injured or anything like that happens, then they lose that asset and they now can't move on. Or like if he plays next weekend, breaks his leg, Everton aren't going to sign him.
no, of course not.
So from that perspective, you kind of look at it that way.
But he's getting
job.
paid to play for Leeds.
You know what I mean?
I understand that. You've got to protect yourself, and you in yourself, that's your asset. That's what you're selling, yourself and your ability to perform. But at the end of the day, you're getting paid a wage.
Some clubs are going to look at him now and think, fucking hell.
Look at how he's throwing his toys out his prom.
Throwing a paddy like this.
The thing is, though, players have done this in the
look.
past, and we've always said that, but then they've always got their move anyway. So it's a nice sentiment, but I don't think that stands because it's happened in the past. Players have just said they're not playing this, that, and the other. Everyone's gone, oh well, teams are going to look at it. Everton still want to sign him, even though he's refused to play.
Because they don't care because it's not them. It's not happening to them.
Exactly. So it's.
But I'd look at the actions of the player and think, do I want that type of person in my squad?
It makes sense, and it makes sense the logic of it. But history's proven that teams don't think like that. Teams just want to sign the players because they want to win now. So they're kind of like it's one of those where it's like, oh, we'll deal with that later. Like if it comes, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. They like Everton are in a situation where they could be in a relegation battle again this year. So they're like, right, okay, we need to sign this player so that we can win now. He wants to come now. So it's like I remember when we signed Marcus Rojo a few years ago at United. He did the same thing at Sporting or where when we got him from, where he sat out And then everyone was like, oh, but he wanted to come to United, so everyone was like, yeah, get him in. He turned out...
Should have left him there.
Yeah, he should have.
Do you know the thing that annoys me most about the situation is the fact that it's Everton? Like, do you know from Gnonto's point of view, if it was going to like a top 6 team or like a team that were floating around there?
I know that Premier League football, but it's Everton, like you said.
It's different now that you're playing in the Championship, though, isn't it?
I know, but when you've got 5 years left on your contract at a club that picked you up from literally nowhere, like he never done anything in his career, it's the maddest thing I've ever seen.
I understand wanting to go play in the Premier League, but acting the way that he's acting to force a move to Everton. Like,
Yeah,
I
and
understand.
like I get
saying.
it with Sinistera as well, because it came out today that Sinistera has a release clause in his contract.
Shock.
So
Masterclass.
That means, from his point of view, when he signed the contract at Leeds, right, he came from a team that was in the Europa League the season before, and then he signed at Leeds, and in his contract it said, well, if we go down, don't worry, you can leave as long as we get this much back. So he's joined with that intention, with that in mind. He knows if it all goes badly, then he can leave whenever he wants. Whereas Gnonto signed as a young talent who wasn't even meant to be in the first team. He was meant to be in the under-23s for a season. Yeah. And then he's had a couple good games, and now it's like, all right, in a bit.
Yeah, but he's also got the Euros coming up. He's not going to get picked. Well, it's less likely he's going to get picked if he's playing in Championship.
For Italy,
you know what I mean?
so
But he's going to still want to push for the squad.
He's going to want to be in the squad, isn't
He
he?
was in contention when he was in the Swiss League, though. So
Yeah, he was in the youth setup when he was in the Swiss
setup.
League.
He's come up through the youth setup.
I mean,
Surely
that's the youth setup, and he's still playing. Yeah, okay, it's the Swiss league, but he's still playing top flight football in the Swiss
It's
league.
a cop out. I understand that more with Italy. But it's like goes back to Woba, and he said Austria. Like he said, I've got to move on because I've got to get selected for the national team. With a country like Austria, you're going to get selected in the Championship. But I hear what you're saying, because Italy's different. Austria.
Going back to Gnonto, I think if I was in his shoes, I'd surely think I may as well honour my contract, right? Even if it's just until January. Like, the way of doing things is proper stinking. But he could have just absolutely smoked the Championship, right? Still got in the Italy squad, and then he'd have got an even bigger fee, probably to a bet. If he'd have played the first half of the season in the Championship and scored 10, 15 goals, he'd have ended up going to United or Chelsea or something. Instead, he's going to go to Everton. Might not even start every game there, because he won't start in every game at Leeds in the Premier League. How does that leave him with a better chance career-wise than just staying does?